They never needed to control you directly, because the most obedient mind is the one that believes it is free. And the moment you stop questioning that feeling is the moment the system no longer has to hide. You wake up thinking your thoughts are yours, your desires are yours, your opinions are yours, but very few people ever stop to ask where those thoughts began, who benefits from them, and why the same patterns keep repeating across millions of minds at the same time. Control does not arrive as a command, it arrives as a suggestion repeated so often that it starts to feel natural, familiar, inevitable, and by the time you notice it, your behavior has already adjusted to fit inside invisible boundaries you never agreed to. The system does not force you to believe anything. It simply decides what stays in front of your eyes long enough to become normal and what disappears before you can examine it deeply. What you see shapes what you think. What you think shapes what you feel, and what you feel shapes how you act. And once that chain is established, freedom becomes an illusion maintained by routine. You are given endless choices, but very few directions. Endless content, but very little clarity. Endless noise, but almost no silence. Because silence is dangerous to systems that depend on distraction. A quiet mind begins to notice repetition, manipulation, emotional triggers, artificial urgency, and carefully engineered conflict. And noticing is the first step toward resistance. This is why everything feels urgent. Everything feels emotional. Everything demands immediate reaction. Because a reactive mind does not analyze. It responds, and response is predictable. Fear keeps you alert. Anger keeps you engaged. Pleasure keeps you compliant. And exhaustion keeps you dependent. And none of these states require understanding. Understanding would slow you down. And slowing down would reveal patterns that are meant to stay hidden beneath speed. Over time, you are trained to skim, scroll, react, agree, disagree, but never to sit long enough with a single idea to dismantle it completely. Depth is replaced by volume. Meaning is replaced by momentum. And truth becomes whatever survives long enough in the noise to feel familiar. The most powerful systems are not built on deception alone. They are built on repetition. Because repetition removes resistance without confrontation. You stop asking why certain fears are amplified, why certain narratives never end, why solutions are always postponed, and why the same emotional cycles keep you locked in attention without resolution. This is not chaos. It is structure disguised as randomness. You are taught to adapt instead of understand, to cope instead of question, to stay functional instead of aware. Because awareness disrupts efficiency, and efficiency is the system's highest value, not your well-being, not your clarity, not your freedom. Freedom is not removed all at once. It is diluted, softened, blurred, until you are no longer sure what it was supposed to feel like. Eventually, you confuse comfort with safety, distraction with happiness, stimulation with purpose, and busyness with progress. But something feels off. A quiet tension beneath the surface. A sense that your attention is constantly pulled outward while something essential inside you is shrinking. That feeling is not anxiety. It is recognition. Recognition that your focus has been fragmented, your thinking accelerated, your emotional response is trained, and your inner silence crowded out. And once you recognize this, you cannot unsee it. You begin to notice how often you are interrupted. How rarely you are allowed to finish a thought. How quickly discomfort is masked with entertainment. You begin to understand that attention is not just valuable, it is foundational. Because whatever controls attention, controls perception. And whatever controls perception, controls behavior. This is why reclaiming your attention feels uncomfortable at first. Because you are stepping outside a system designed to keep you inside perpetual reaction. Clarity does not feel exciting. It feels quiet. And quiet feels unfamiliar to a mind trained on constant stimulation. But in that quiet, patterns emerge, questions deepen, and the illusion of inevitability begins to crack. The system relies on you believing that nothing can change, that this is simply how the world works, that adaptation is the only option. But systems only appear permanent until enough people see them clearly. And seeing clearly begins with one simple act that feels almost rebellious in a distracted world. Stopping, observing, thinking slowly. This is Mindrax Theory, and this was not the conclusion.